a good beat. Why aren't you dancing?
Dancing is forbidden. 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 Dancing is forbidden.
Yoo-hoo, running crew, welcome to Dancing is Forbidden, an Aqua Teen Hunger Force exploration. I am Ronnie, and on this podcast, I am usually watching through and talking about every Aqua Teen episode, but this week, we are talking to the multifaceted Nick Ingkatanuwat, described by Dave Willis as Aqua Teen's Swiss Army knife. You've probably heard me mention Nick on the podcast in all sorts of different roles because he's done artwork, he's done voice work on the show, he's done music, he's done puppeteering, he even did some sewing on the show. Nick has had his hands in basically every aspect of the show's production. And beyond that, he was also a producer and editor, but he started on as a production assistant in 2003, and he hung on the entirety of Aqua Teen's run after that, and he even came back in 2022 with Aquadunk Side Pieces, Plantasm, and he is now involved in the upcoming season. Nick is somebody that I always really wanted to talk to simply because of how much he's done on Aqua Teen. But that's not all that we get into in this interview, because Nick is a very interesting person, but also a very humble person, and I appreciate how open and honest he is in this discussion you're going to hear, because he gets into his insecurities, especially early on, while working on Aqua Teen. And he didn't just work on Aqua Teen, because what makes his story interesting is before that, in 1999, he worked on Space Ghost as an intern while he was in college. So he comes back, starts working on Aqua Teen, and eventually works a little bit on Squidbillies when that comes out, Dave Willis's other show. He goes on to play a pivotal role in 12 Ounce Mouse, Matt Malero's other show, of course, being the voice of I on 12 Ounce Mouse. But in our conversation today, of course, we're getting into all sorts of stuff. Nick just brings tons of great behind-the-scenes stories. For example, the surprising outfit that Dave Willis would wear at the office, as well as the boobs that Nick had to dodge during his Space Ghost interview. And Nick even ends my age-old quest of finding out who is Judith Dre. Of course, thank you to Nick for being so generous with his time here and willing to be so open and honest. Thank you to Dave Willis for setting this up, because otherwise I didn't know how to get in contact with Nick. So here it is, my conversation with one of the many unsung heroes of Aqua Teen, Aqua Teen's Renaissance man, Nick Ingkatanuwat. As I'm sure you're aware, Aqua Teen was brought back for 5 new episodes, and I'm just curious, first of all, if you are working on those episodes, are you involved in the project?
Not as much as I used to be, because the editing workflow is different this go around. It's more like the movie, where we didn't make a whole animatic in-house. I don't know if people probably talked about that at length with you.
Mm-hmm. Right,
if
yeah,
you talk to any of the editors.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the elements in the animatic are made in the actual animation studio, and they just send us over video. So like before, they would be like, oh, we need this prop, will you just make it or sketch it or whatever, and I would do that. But now the animation does it, like the animation studio does all of that.
Okay, so you're doing more of like a traditional non-Adult Swim role as an editor, kind of.
Yeah, they are. I'm not editing so much as like I do like the music and music selections from our library.
That's funny. I was just listening to a commentary this morning with you, and it was for Spirit Journey Formation anniversary. And in the commentary, you mentioned that they told you to go through and find like progressive rock from the library, and it was not fun, you mentioned. So it's funny now, like a few hours later, I'm hearing you like, yeah, I have to go and find the music from the library.
Yeah, it's so much easier. It's so much easier now, though. Like, probably at that time, you said Spirit Journey?
Yeah. So that would have been like 2003.
Yeah. Like, used to, we would go across the street to where all the other offices are from William Street. It's like William Street's on one side of the interstate, and then like everything else in Turner is on the other side, basically. And so we go over there to like Turner Studios and the music library to get music. And, there wasn't a website like we have now where we just can like, audition stuff, through a web browser, wherever. You have to go, and there's this guy, Jim Rich, and you have to sit next to him. He's like, okay, what sound effect do you want? And I'm like, all right, the squeaky rubber sound. And he'll like type that query in, and then there's like this 1,000 CD disc changer in the basement of the studio. And and one of those discs has that sound effect on it, and you have to wait for it to load it up in the carousel somewhere. And then like it finally comes up on the screen, and then he'll audition all of them for you. And you pick the ones. Yeah. And that's kind of blows my mind.
And now you're the one who gets to type it in now. And I'm sure he was probably very upset when that technology came along.
Yeah. I mean, he was maybe 10 years away from retirement.
Oh, okay.
At the least.
Yeah. He got out at the right time.
He did. Yeah. He's a cool guy though. He's like, I don't know. I feel like he always wore Hawaiian shirts and had a big like gold necklace. I think he was living a life.
That's what I would hope a person like that would look like doing the sound library work. It's awesome.
He's cool. Like he sounds like a radio announcer when you talk to him. Jim Rich. And Matt and Dave always used to joke that he was a nudist for some reason. And it was just hilarious to think about. And one time, like they gave me a sound effect lesson. They were like, all right, ask him for the sound of a nude man on a beach. And I was like, what?
He's like, this one's from the personal file. Then he winks at you.
They would do that shit all the time. Just to like, I don't know. You just have to like not take everything literally when you work with them. You kind of have to be paying attention.
It's funny because on the podcast, I will try and track down the music and stuff that you guys would use that made it to the episode. And there is a YouTube channel called Video Killed the Radio Star. And this guy is doing that as well. So he has like all the production music that you probably had to go and get. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I'll look those up like on Discogs and things like that and see the vinyl records that like they were originally on from like the 60s and 70s and things like that eventually made it into Aqua Teen.
Oh, that's wild.
I guess to take a step back then and learn more about you, are you from Georgia originally?
Yes, I was born in Georgia, Fayetteville, Georgia.
I know that you went to Emory University, so I kind of assumed that you probably were from there. But when you went to Emory, what did you go for? What was your major?
Well, my mom was like, I know you like drawing and stuff, but just be a doctor and you can do that on the side. You can do that for fun. And I was like, okay, that's a great idea. And then I took like the intro bio class at Emory and just, I failed it. It was like the first time I'd ever failed a class. It was to weed out pre-med people, and it worked. It worked really well. I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be a doctor. But that took a lot of pressure off me, and I was like, really able just to kind of like, what do I really actually want to do besides be a doctor?
So while you were in school then at Emory, you changed your major then, I assume? Yeah.
I went to English because it was pretty, versatile, I guess. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it's dumb to give all that pressure to a
kid.
Like an 18 or 19-year-old. Like, okay, everything you do now affects the rest of your life.
Then you graduated then with an English degree?
Yes, yeah, and a studio art minor. That was, what I say is useless, but I don't know. It was really more useful than I thought because, like, in the studio arts department at Emory, they had like TV, video, and photography class, which I don't know how you can get through all those in one class. But the guy that ran it had like a video production house of his own on the side. He was always looking for interns, and so I interned there, and that's where I learned like After Effects and Photoshop, which kind of came in really handy later when I was working for Aqua Teen and stuff. The reason I was able to learn it is because the .com bubble burst happened. Like while I was working in that video place, and they did a lot of business to business videos and like corporate instruction videos and just, everything went to shit. And so like the graphic designer and the video compositor and the video editor, they didn't have anything to do except teach me stuff.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, especially at that time, that is incredibly valuable because today, like, you could, torrent the program and watch a YouTube video and then probably start to pick things up. But at that time, I'd imagine, the software was probably way more expensive than it is now. And just finding out how to learn it was like a, very difficult process.
Or even having a computer fast enough.
Right. Yeah.
To run it. Nowadays you can get one pretty cheap, but back then it was like a whole thing,
Right. I saw that in 1999, you started it on as an intern on Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So before that point, had you watched Space Ghost? Like, were you familiar with the show?
Yeah, I watched it, like, for sure, here and there. I didn't, like, consciously sit down to watch it. I think it would just come on, and I'd be like, oh, there it is. Awesome. I wasn't paying enough attention.
Yeah.
I guess,
well, no, I can relate. That's how it was for me, like with Aqua Teen, because I was younger and I'm just like, oh, the things on them that I like, awesome, but I didn't think to like seek it out really.
No. Yeah, I was a casual viewer, but I really loved it when I saw it. It was so funny, like so weird, like there's nothing like it. There wasn't YouTube,
right,
just people were making random stuff. This is like everything you saw that was video was really, really curated back then. You can't just like see anyone's random stuff.
Right.
So to see something that weird and like cheaply made and on broadcast television was just really interesting,
Well, plus you being from Georgia, were you aware that it was made in Georgia?
Yeah, at the end of the show, it'd have like, you can write, Ghost Planet Industries and have it, whoa, it's an Atlanta address. That's pretty cool. And I didn't really think about that hard because like I thought it was, I wasn't Fayetteville. I was like so far removed from the glitz and glamour of Atlanta.
The big city.
Right. Yeah. But like how I got involved with that internship was like, I didn't know what I was going to really do after college. So while I was there, I went to the career office or whatever, the career center, and I flipped through all the available internships because I heard that's what you have to do to get a job after college. And like they had a literal like file cabinet that you go through, and that was one of the flyers was the internship for Space Ghost. I still have it somewhere.
Oh, really? Wow. So it specifically was just like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, like you knew the exact show that you were. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main thing going on there, I think.
Right. Yeah, that would make sense. When you applied for this, did you really think that you were going to get it or not? Or was it just like, yeah, I'll just try and see? Or did you actually think that you had a shot?
Did I think I would get it? I didn't know. Honestly, I was like, I got to get this though. This is awesome. I love the show. And like, if there's any chance I can get on there, that'd be awesome. So, I was like, who am I? I'm nobody. And this is Space Ghost. So yeah, I interviewed for it, and the woman interviewing me, her blouse came open during the interview. And yeah, and it was like, I was like, oh God damn it. Like, and you could see a little too much. And I was like, I'm not going to get this internship because if she notices this. And sure enough, she noticed. She's like, oh, that's happening. I'm sorry. And I was like, that's okay. But, like 21-year-old me was awesome and maintained eye contact the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess it didn't really matter that much to her that her boobies were kind of out.
So wait, so this was like an actual accident?
Yeah, it was an accident.
Oh,
yeah.
I assumed that like somebody was like pranking you to see how you would react. That's how they would give you the job.
I mean, that's how it felt.
Right, sure.
I felt like, oh my God, someone's fucking with me or something. This is a nightmare. I want this internship. And why are her boobies coming out? But it turned out fine. And it wasn't like awkward or anything. It never came up again. I was just like so relieved.
Right. Well, because you're in that situation like, I'm not doing anything wrong, but this might reflect poorly on me. Like if she notices, then she might have like bad feelings against me or something. Or yeah,
I mean, she just might be embarrassed. She's like, oh, I don't want to see that fucking guy again. He saw my boobies a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah. So you get the Space Ghost job. Do you remember like your first day on that? Do you remember what you had to go through to start working there?
I don't remember the first day.
Sure.
I mean, it was a lot of transcribing stuff.
Like the interviews?
Yeah, I did that. And then taking tapes across the street. Because like our standards and practices offices were across the street. And so, this is way before we digitized video that was like small enough to, send across the internet. That was not an option at all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was always VHS tapes, and they always had to be carted across the street. And and the best part, I did this a lot. I answered Space Ghost fan mail.
Oh, okay.
And whenever someone wrote him, especially like, a snail mail letter, he did have an AOL address. You could AOL email
Right.
Space Ghost, but I would send them autographed glossies of Space Ghost and Zorak that I autographed.
Oh, okay. You got to be Space Ghost and Zorak. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really fun for a 20-year-old to be doing that.
Right, yeah.
I'm Space Ghost. And, and I would write them a little specialized letter about, answering their questions, in the voice of whatever character. And
right.
hopefully that made someone's day, or they were like, this isn't the real
This Space Ghost wouldn't say this.
Yeah. Or maybe they're like, this is my most prized possession, the Space Ghost autograph.
Yeah.
George Lowe. I was like, no, that isn't me. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, I guess that's, kind of like you got to have a little bit of acting experience doing that, just, writing in the voice of other characters. That's probably not something you anticipated going into it, I would imagine.
No, not at all. I loved that. It was like the most creative I got to be in the internship. And then, aside from like, I wrote an actual Space Ghost episode for my final project for the place. Because you had to have like a final project that you turn into them as part of, like the college coursework or whatever, so you could get credit. Yeah, so I turned in a script that I wrote, and I'm sure it was okay, I guess. I have it somewhere. Like 10 years ago, someone came in my office and they're like, here's your file. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, here's your intern file from like 15 years ago. It was like all the work you did here. We had it on file. I was like, okay.
All right, I've been looking for this. Thanks.
It was weird. And and that was in there, that script, and like just everything that I ever sent them. And the thank you letter I sent for my interview with Keith Crawford, who was
that's nice.
the VP at the time. I was like, wow, this is neat.
Uh-huh.
I still have all that shit somewhere. One time, going back to like, answering the fan mail, one time, like, I guess they were printing scripts or something, and Matt brought me one of the fan letters that I had written to someone. He's like, here you go, here's your thing. And I was like, oh, thanks. I was like so shy, and like, it was Matt Miller. And I was like, oh my God, did you read it? I was like really embarrassed,
Oh no.
Because they were like the actual creators
right.
and stuff. And
right.
I don't know. It was easy to embarrass me at that time.
Okay, so you interned there, and then according to your IMDb, you don't pop back up again until 2003 when you start on season 2 of Aqua Teen, as well as Space Ghost Coast to Coast was running concurrently at that time.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do in that period between interning on Space Ghost and then getting back into the Adult Swim universe?
I mean, that was that space right after college. When I graduated in 2000, I was like, what the fuck do I do now? Like while I was interning, they did interview me for a PA position. I guess it was for Aqua Teen.
Oh, interesting.
Basically. Or maybe it was Space Ghost, I don't know. But it seemed like the timing would have been right for Aqua Teen, because while I was there interning, I remember, my office was like, I didn't have my own office. It was it was in the hall.
Damn.
on the Apple IIe computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like this half wall, and then the other side of it, there was like, the hallway, and then the writer's room was like right next to me, it was closed off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would hear them doing reads for, I guess it was Baffler Meal. Like I would hear them like yelling about, I am Master Shake, blah, 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 blah. I was like, what is Master Shake? What is this? That's not Space Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is it? And it was like the people that worked on Space Ghost were doing these table reads. And I mean, that was funny to realize later that was
right.
The beginning of Aqua Teen was like right
Wow.
there, happening right there next to me.
And you're
I had
just
no
like,
idea.
what? What's that?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Uh-huh.
And also funny was like Dave used to wear like bathrobes all the time in the office.
That's what he wore when I interviewed him. I was kind of concerned, but I'm glad.
Are
it's
you
normal.
serious?
No.
I mean, you couldn't see anything. It was very modest, but it was still like he was in a bathrobe, Like, so I thought it made him extra intimidating because I was like, wow, you've got like the fucking juice to just wear whatever here and no one says anything.
He's ascended.
He's just like really confident guy anyways. So like, whoa, yeah. The closest you can get to having a rock star, I guess, like the street. You know?
Right. So you were away for basically 3-ish years after interning.
Yeah.
And did you catch Aqua Teen in its first season? Like, did you see it on the air at any point and say, oh, I used to work, on Space Ghost. I knew those guys.
No, I didn't have cable at that time, but I was friends with John Bruston, who worked on the pilot, and he showed it to me and some friends. I liked the intro music. I was like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's Schooly D. I'm like, okay.
All right.
I don't exactly know who that is, but all right. And that's kind of messed up because it was like not too long after he was like actually famous. But no, I didn't see it. I was just kind of working and figuring things out.
So then what brought you back to get back involved in Adult Swim at that point?
Well, John was like a friend of mine, and like he caught wind that they had a PA position that was opening up. He's like, you got to interview for this PA position. You should apply. And I was like, okay, and definitely will do that because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. and it worked out, and I got it. It's funny. It was a huge contrast between when I interviewed when I was an intern, because like they brought me into like their office and they just asked me a few really softball questions, and I just choked so hard.
Oh.
It was just like, what's your favorite movie? What's the movie you've seen recently or whatever? What are you listening to right now? And like, I was just like, I don't know. And like, none of the jokes I made were landing.
Oh no.
Nothing. It was just like, and I can't, he's like, they're like, yeah, we're looking for a PA. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then like, I left that room and I was just like so deflated. And I was just like so mad at myself because like I couldn't get it together and be normal and just talk about like, the normal shit that I like. Yeah. And so like later on in the hall, like, I figured out what I would have said to all the questions. And then like, I saw him in the hall and I walked next to him and, he's holding papers, whatever, doing production things. And I'm like, hey, I just wanted you to know, this is the movie I like. This is the music I like. This is what I would do if I was blah, blah, blah. Like I answered all the questions and like tried to redeem myself.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, okay.
All right.
And I was like, ooh. Well, at least I put in, at least I did the work. So it's in God's hands.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing you could do at that point. Yeah. No, I appreciate you being so honest about this too, especially because I'm familiar with hearing you on commentaries not too long after that, and you seem like a lot more confident and like you're not as shy to be there. So it's nice to hear like the journey, I guess, that you kind of went on when you first started to a little bit later. You started on Aqua Teen at the beginning of season 2, which is my favorite season of the show. And you started on with Super Birthday Snake, which is the first episode of that season, I assume, as a PA. Would you happen to recall that experience, like starting on Aqua Teen at that point?
I don't remember that episode. I think that episode had been done pretty much by the time I got there. I started in like April or something of 2003. I think that one had already been composited and was in the can, basically.
Okay.
And I think I got to watch it and stuff, That was always exciting. And like, I think the first piece of art I really made, that's one of the reasons they hired me, is because I could, Photoshop and stuff.
Right.
I could use Photoshop pretty competently and draw. And like, the first thing I did was probably, it was like some toxic waste cans in a river for the drizzle.
Okay, yeah, for that's the second episode. So yeah, for Superhero.
Yeah, Superhero, that's what it's called. That's the first thing I remember. And I remember asking MC Chris questions about how to use Photoshop. And he was like, man, you're screwed. You don't know how to do this.
Oh.
And it's like I just want a little bit of help.
Chris,
You know,
I'm new.
because
Just help me.
yeah, because I mean, you've seen Bob's drawings; they're incredible, and I was
Mhm.
like, I was pretty confident with it, but not like him,
Right.
But I figured it out with a little bit of help from Cranky MC Chris, and one of the designers across the hall was nice, Jacob Escobedo. I asked him a question about it too, and he was like, "Use brightness contrast." Like I some of the stuff I had never used before in Photoshop. I was like, "Oh, there's that." Okay.
Right. Thanks for sharing that memory. That's really cool, remembering working all the way back on Superhero. So one of the reasons I was really excited to talk to you is because of, and we've touched on it a little bit, all of the things that you've done on the show. Because despite I mean, most of you guys did more than just one thing, but you've done artwork, music, puppeteering, voice work, like all sorts of stuff. So I was hoping we can kind of touch on these aspects a little bit. And you brought up earlier being like inspired by Nirvana to get into music and playing guitar. So do you still play guitar?
I do, yeah. Yeah. During the pandemic, I had like decided I'm gonna make a shoegaze band. and so I bought like 3 guitars and like a sampler and all this crap, and then it kind of never happened.
It's hard.
I don't know. Making those bands kind of has to be organic. And like I put an ad in Craigslist, and I got a few people email me back, but just I don't know, it just never really worked out. But yeah, I mean, I still play guitar. I like it.
So what kind of shoegaze bands are you influenced by?
Nothing too deep cut, just like My Bloody Valentine and Gringo Death Star. I like them a lot. Slow Dive is cool. Yeah, are you familiar with shoegaze at all?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, just the usual suspects. Like I like.
So had you been listening to that a lot around the pandemic specifically, or is shoegaze just something that you've always kind of came back to?
I mean, I always kind of liked it, but I really liked it, I guess, in the pandemic. I guess it felt the mood. It fit the mood a lot. Stuff. Like I got my Spotify roundup for that year, and it was like, you listened to Loveless 40,000 hours. I'm like, oh God, this is kind of embarrassing. You're in the top 0.1% of listeners of My Bloody Valentine. I'm like, is this a badge of pride, or am I just a
can
crazy
I hide
person?
this information? Is this public now? Jesus Christ. I like to hear that because I know for Aqua Teen, you seemingly have done a lot of electronic music. So it's cool to hear, too, that you are kind of also rooted in more guitar-based things. Have you always stuck with like a specific DAW, like a music program, or do you jump around between them? Like if you're making something for Aqua Teen, for example, in 2007, you did some music for Colon Movie Film.
Yeah.
Like the beat that MC Chris rapped over, for example. Like what would you use for that?
That was Reason. I've used Reason for the entire time I've made any electronic music. Yeah, like I went over to a friend's house and he showed me how to use Fruity Loops, and I'm eternally grateful for that. He's like, you could use this, or you could buy Reason, and you would have this entire effects library and an entire sample library, and I don't know. It's a really cool interface, and it's like you have the actual physical consoles,
Right. Yeah.
Like you've got a rack, and like you can plug in things to different things. That's really interesting.
Something I want to ask you, because Dave kind of pointed me in your direction, is for the Aquadonk side pieces. Did you do the like theme song for that, which is like a little drum beat at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it says music by DJ AT and Tease. Is that you?
Yes. Maybe.
Okay, because I like Googled it. I'm like, nothing's popping up. What is this?
Yeah, it's just me. I don't know.
Is there a reason you didn't want to be credited just by name?
I just thought it'd be funnier to be that name.
Well, it sounds like it's two people. I thought it was like a duo or something. I didn't know it was one guy.
Yeah, maybe I should use it if you actually paid attention to it. I'm surprised you even asked me that because the credits in that show are just so fast.
I know, I have to slow it down.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, AT&T is just a really great company that has never failed me and has never made horrible decisions that affect hundreds of thousands of people. So that's why I chose that name.
Okay, now it makes sense. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for shining a light, because I was like, who the fuck is this? Like, who did this music? So that makes a lot of sense. So to jump to your history as an artist on the show, rumor has it that you created, for example, Boxy Brown, that character, like you did the visual for him.
No.
You didn't?
No. That wasn't
Really?
me. Nope, that was probably Bob.
Really? Because he said it was you.
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Well, you could put it on your resume if you want, I guess. He's passing it off to you. Interesting.
That's
okay.
weird. Maybe he's worried about being canceled. I don't know.
Maybe. Did you ever do any character designs on the show like that?
No, that was usually the job of the animation studio. But I've done that occasionally. Like I gave them like a ton of Zuccotti designs, and they didn't use them. But they used the one from the animation studio. I'm not mad about it. It's fine.
Right.
You know?
Well, I guess you need to have a word with Bob, because he's trying to get you canceled, I guess, now. He's passing the blame on to you.
I know. What? Oh my God. Matt Jenkins. I think it might have been him.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Or Clay. I don't know. That's everyone.
Right, that's like everyone else who worked on the show.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I was just surprised because I didn't know that you had really done like character design. So when he said that, because Boxy Brown growing up was one of my favorite characters. I always thought he was so funny. So, But yeah, it would make more sense if it was like Matt or Clay or somebody like that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. So I have here the Super Chunk, the 7-inch with your artwork on it. Supposedly, it says on the back. Hopefully, that's correct as well.
Yeah, that
you did that. So the black and white drawing. Anybody listening, just check the description. I will include an image of this. How did that come about? Did you do this for the 7-inch, or did you already kind of have this done ahead of time? Or
no, it was for the 7-inch.
Okay, so they just came to you like, "Hey, do you want to do some art for this?"
Yeah, Dave asked me to do it, and I was like, okay. I mean, it's just another day at the office.
Right. This 7-inch is fun because then Dave, he sings the single on the other side as Meatwad, so it's really funny.
Oh wow!
And it makes my throat hurt just listening to it. I'm like, how did he hit those high notes in that voice?
I've never actually taken mine out of the wrapper.
Like, yeah. Give it a spin, man. It's pretty good. I assume that artwork is the bulk of what you did on the show, right? As a PA.
Yeah, it's mostly that. And I mean, like, you know, as a PA, you have to do like transcribing, and I've taken my share of tapes across the street as a PA.
Besides those things, besides your music and art and tape carrying skills, you also have done some incidental kind of voice work on the show as various characters like Dirtfoot and Uncle Cliff. You later went on to do a voice on Squidbillies. Billy Morton, I believe, was the character. And then on 12 Ounce Mouse, you are, of course, I. So growing up, like, did you ever have any aspirations to voice act? Like, is that ever something that you were interested in before being put in those positions?
No, I always like just drawing and kind of behind the scenes thing. I never had high enough self-esteem to fancy myself an actor or a leading man or whatever, you know.
Well, I have a fan question here from listener Carson, and Carson wants to know what your favorite of your incidental voice lines on Aqua Teen were to do. I know it was a lot of yelling, but like, was there any sort of voice recording session on Aqua Teen specifically that you have like fond memories of?
I guess the first one I got the biggest kick out of it was like the Muffin Man and the cloning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just me. It was
Yeah.
just me
Yeah.
talking.
You weren't like putting on a voice. It's just like a pretty like
It was just me being
standard
chipper.
voice. Yeah. Yeah.
Great
yeah.
news! You both made the cheerleading squad.
Yes.
And then like they blow up or something. I can't remember. It's been a while.
I think Frylock kills your character. He like blows his head off
Yeah,
after delivering
yeah.
the good news.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you've also done voice acting. You've also done sewing.
I hand sewed that Dirtfoot costume.
Did you really?
Yeah, I handmade that. Except for the foot, we commissioned that. There was some guy that made pieces for like haunted houses and stuff, and he made the foot. And I was so nervous about that, getting that done. They're like, here, make this costume. I was like, okay, what the fuck?
As in, like, it's like a lot of pressure on you, especially to be working with this like professionally made foot.
Yeah, or just like they just threw me that. Dave and Matt just threw me that. They're like, here, make this costume happen. I'm like, okay,
sure.
So I'm in my house like sewing this fake fur and shit. And I mean, it turned out pretty cool. And they're like, all right, now wear it and jump around in this ravine in the summer. And I didn't make eye holes in it, so that was So they're directing me like look that way, look this way,
right.
Jump higher. And I was like, okay, I don't know. But that was pretty fun. The costume is still around the office somewhere.
You also did some puppetry on the show. For example, we could see you there's some behind the scenes special features. We see photographs of you at like a bowling alley doing stuff for like an in-universe show, doing some puppeteering there.
Yeah, that was for Universal Remaster.
Yes, yeah. And then also, of course, my understanding is you directed the Zuccotti Manicotti bits. Is that correct?
Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to David Stevens because he is the puppeteer, and he made the puppets for Zuccotti Manicotti.
Right. Yeah, he has really like a really cool blog post about it. He goes into detail, and there's like pictures of you guys and things like that.
Yeah. He's worked on like Sesame Street and stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has.
Did you ever were you interested in doing things with puppets before that, or was it just another thing kind of thrusted upon you?
Yeah, it was just a thing that was thrust upon me. Like I said, I've never really thought I would be working in TV.
Right, sure.
I just didn't.
You just found yourself there. I mean, it's funny because like, it sounds like you solved a lot of their problems, so it's funny to hear you saying like, "Oh, I never thought I would make it there" or anything like that. You had low self-esteem with it, but like how much you brought to the show and how much better you made the show. It's like crazy to think that that could not have happened in a way,
Yeah, I feel like I did a bunch of things.
Right. Well, I mean, you're almost notorious for being so multifaceted. Like Dave referred to you as Aqua Teen's Swiss Army knife. I think Bob Pettit called you a jack of all trades. My term for you, I hope you like this. I like to call you a Renaissance man.
Oh,
you do a little bit of everything. Again, that's why I was so excited to talk to you, just because of all these things. But it's so interesting to me to learn now that you weren't necessarily trying to do a lot of these things. You just got thrown into the situation, and it was like sink or swim. And it seems like you swum because it worked out.
Yeah, it did. I did things I never thought I'd be able to do, especially the voice acting stuff. I was surprised that they used it.
Well, yeah, and obviously with your voice acting, like between shows, like I was asking specifically about like your Aqua Teen experience, because doing something on Aqua Teen is different than your career as playing I on 12 Ounce Mouse, which is much more of a real character than something on Aqua Teen, which is like an incidental, maybe just a yell for Uncle Cliff or something along those lines.
Right.
Going in to play I, were you nervous for that because you don't really consider yourself a voice actor? No, because
I was with Matt, and he's just someone I saw every day, all the time, and I worked with all the time, and I was really just comfortable with him. I didn't feel too self-conscious about it or anything. And everyone else working, that was doing voices for that show were just people from the office. Yeah, they would just drag you guys in there, it sounded like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I mean, it didn't feel like I was put on the spot or anything. It was just like, this is just another thing. Gotcha. Yeah. Otherwise, if they had cold called me and like, be this voice, it would have been like a lot of pressure. Yeah. If I didn't know them and stuff. I could
Oh,
see.
yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
be
Yeah.
shitting my pants for sure.
You started off as a production assistant on Aqua Teen, and then of course later became like an associate producer, and then you became like an actual producer, a full-fledged producer and editor. And not many people have done that because I'm always reading like the credits on every episode, and you and like John Breston are the only people that I know that did that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there was somebody else, but like, what is it about you specifically you think that led to you thriving within Matt and Dave's universe, I guess, because you've worked on so many of their shows?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just being really flexible, I guess, helps, and not having an ego, I guess, like having a big ego, anyways. Because I don't know, they give notes. It's not like a crazy amount or anything. Nothing really unreasonable. I feel like, but you have to do the notes,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. Dave's usually right about them, I feel like. So I don't know. You just kind of trust them. But just put your own energy and creativity in there at the same time, but don't force your hand too much, I guess. Just being a team player, not trying to like, I don't know, grandstand or whatever, or just like make it yours instead of theirs. I don't know. It's like my job is, I just feel like I won the job lottery,
Yeah. Well, as a fan of your work and the shows that you've worked on, it's always nice to hear things like that. That how much like you appreciate doing that work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really do. And it was kind of lost on me the how exceptional that show is, that that it went on for like 16 years or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that just doesn't really happen ever, but it did. And I just kind of was like, oh, I guess this is how it goes. It's like,
yeah.
And it is not how it goes at all, especially now with testing. People are like, oh, this doesn't test so well, let's chop it, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think our network does it quite as bad as, like others.
Right.
But still, they weigh it into consideration and stuff, and it can kill something before it gets a chance to breathe. I don't think Aqua Teen would have been what it was if they had just tested the shit out of it and just been like, oh, well, this isn't this. Let's know, before it got an audience or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have another question, a fan question for you from Carson again. Carson wants to know, on Aqua Teen, what was different from being a production assistant, an associate producer, and regular producer / editor? So I guess like how did your job kind of evolve as you got these like new titles?
I mean, an associate producer, nothing was the same. I just got paid more. It was just kind of like a reward. It's like, okay, you're doing good. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And yeah, and I made producer after I started directing all these DVD commercials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you remember the Carl's and Drag DVD commercial?
Yeah.
I directed in that and conceptualized that, and edited it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I made the song. I made the remix to the Aqua Unit Patrol Squad song for that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And yeah, that was so fun to work on. Those were great. And then people stopped buying DVDs, so
right,
we couldn't make them anymore. I made like 4 or 5.
Well, I was going to say, because on the podcast, while going along with the episodes, I also go through like DVD features and things like that. And so much of the DVD features that you guys did are, in my opinion, as funny as the show itself was. And it's such a bummer that that opportunity got taken away once DVDs kind of weren't as popular anymore. It's like all that content just stopped, existing, really. You guys weren't able to do little things like that so much anymore.
Yeah, it sucks. Just the money's not there anymore. But that how I got that DVD commercial gig was like, they were just shoveling thousands of dollars to this dude in LA or something to make these promos, and he just really phoned one in to the point that they got angry.
Oh, wow.
They're like, we gave you this much money and this is what you gave us.
Right.
And so they're like, here, Nick, do this for no money.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, how many thousands of dollars are they gonna throw at you for that?
I mean, they didn't give it to me, but like, they gave me a budget and I spent it on, getting a voiceover from the early Kyler for the DVD commercial and stuff. And I made something that was a little like better, I guess. And then, so I got the budgets for the other ones. I guess it's expensive to live in LA. And
right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oh,
I'm just
sure.
gonna like put a few clips together and then, put a weak ass video over it and then send it back and hope they don't get angry.
Right. So I have another question for you. This is from Ian, who runs corndogcentral.com, which is like a 12-ounce mouse fan site. But Ian has an Aqua Teen question. His question is, I've always had a feeling that the name Ignignacht came from someone trying and failing to pronounce Ingkatanuwat. Can you confirm or deny?
Oh, I wish I could confirm, but that's not true.
Okay, gotcha. Well, because I figured like Matt and Dave had worked with you because you interned in '99, right? So
I did, yeah.
But I would think by the time they made that character, they had known your last name. So
yeah, I wasn't around for that, so that's
right.
But if I'm like out somewhere and someone asks me, I say yes because it's more exciting.
Like, hell yeah, I actually picked the name.
That was me. They really loved me. I'm so cool.
What was your reaction to Aqua Teen getting canceled in 2015?
I was just confused, really. I mean, it really sucked. And I was a little excited. I was like, what do I do now? This is a cool opportunity, I guess, to do something else. But, I was very sad about it and very confused at the same time because, like, the show basically, I mean, I don't want to minimize the work we did, but it made itself. It was just like a machine, right? There was no drama. There was never bullshit in, the production line and the production process. It was always just, it was always getting made and made on time and it made money. And, it was off the heels of like that, like a Hardee's promotion they did. I think where Carl's naked with a burger or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like eating it like on the top of his car or something.
Yeah, like that had barely been a year after that. And I'm sure that made a lot. They paid a good money for that, and like now they're canceling it, and it's still relevant. It's still a culturally relevant show. And I don't know, I was just really confused. And...
Right. Well, I guess the inverse of that is then what was your reaction in 2020 being contacted about Aquadonk side pieces and Plantasm? What were you doing when you found out that it was coming back?
I think it was maybe on the heels of the 12-ounce season revival or whatever.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think it was like kind of during that they announced that maybe. And so I think I kind of just went from that 12-ounce season to making Aquadonk.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't surprising since like if they're gonna make 12-ounce again, they would make this monolith show again. So I wasn't surprised, but I was really excited to be working on it again for sure.
I guess speaking of 12-ounce mouse, because you worked a little bit on Squidbillies as well as 12-ounce mouse, so Dave's other show and Matt's other show, can you maybe summarize like what the working environments on Squidbillies was versus 12-ounce mouse?
I mean, honestly, I did very little on Squidbillies. I did like a little bit of art for them in the very beginning. And after that, not much. I would watch cuts occasionally. But yeah, I didn't really do anything on that.
Was that by your choice? Like, were you more interested in something like 12-ounce mouse than Squidbillies?
No, I mean, they just didn't give me any work from it.
Okay, I see.
I don't really know why. I didn't ask for it either. I mean, I gave them my Halloween photo where I dressed as a juggalo for one of the episodes. Like they had a Juggalo episode,
Right.
and I dressed up as a Juggalo for Halloween and gave them a picture. It was
that.
it was a good picture. Like one of my friends is a professional photographer, and she took it, and they're like, "Cool, we'll use it." And so, like they're like a gathering of the Juggalos or something, and
Right.
I'm in there. That's as much work as I did like in the last like 12 years or whatever of that show. But of course, I did a lot more in with Fallout Mouse. Yeah. And the internet, yeah, that's a very free form environment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like Matt, he has like minimal direction usually for things.
Well, I heard a story that like he would just sit there with his guitar and you guys would come to him with ideas and then he would just like play some notes or something like that. And then you'd have to guess how he felt based on that. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard.
That's not what I remember. He did play guitar a lot for sure. Maybe that was John's experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could see him just hanging out in the edit suite doing that. I can imagine that very easily.
Yeah, I had to ask him to put the guitar down when I interviewed him because I would ask him a question, he would just play some notes, and I'm like, Matt, this isn't gonna work.
He's so nice to the point where I would pitch him an idea about a thing, and he just wouldn't reply instead of saying no. It is so frustrating. I'm like, just say no. It's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
You're like, did you see it even? Like, did you see what I sent you? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
I know. And I send a follow-up email, and then, like, you know, he'd dodge it. So,
yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess that's a no. I finally got it after 2 weeks or whatever it is. You know, it's okay to say no is the moral of the story.
So if you could go back to 2003 and give yourself advice with everything that you know now in terms of working on Aqua Teen, what advice would you give yourself?
I don't know. Things worked out just fine. Just kind of doing it the way I did it. So
maybe put some eye holes in that dirt foot costume.
That's a good, yeah. That would have been great advice.
Are there any other like Adult Swim shows that you wish that you got to work on but that you didn't?
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
Right. Well. Okay. Is that because you just wanted to work on it, or is that because it looks good on a resume?
No, because I think the first few seasons are like genius. I was like, I saw it and I just got mad because it was so good. It's such a good story and so well written. I was like, ugh. you know, it just like, it felt like, you know, just an unattainable thing to write that for me. And so right. I wish I maybe worked on that, you know.
So what would you say is your proudest achievement with your time on Aqua Teen? Like, what's the one thing that you are the most proud of?
I guess because it was kind of out of, you know, my comfort zone is on the episode Spy, Meatwad watches this kids show. And like there's like a clown singing a song, and that's me, and that's my voice.
Do you want some bologna? Please. What do you say? Thank you. Are you a good boy? Yes, sir. Are you a bad boy?
No, sir.
Do you want a puppy?
Please.
What do you say?
Thank you.
Are you a good girl?
Yes, sir.
Are you a bad girl?
No, sir.
Do you want some veggies?
Please.
What do you say?
Thank you.
Are you a good boy?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Are you a bad boy?
No, sir.
Do you want a party? Please. What do you say?
Thank you.
Are you a good girl?
Yes, sir.
Are you a bad girl?
No, sir.
No, sir. Do you want some pudding?
Please.
What do you say?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm now tired of your puppet show.
And I originally was going to ask Eddie Ray, this guy in the office. I don't know. I was going to ask him to be the clown. And one of my coworkers is like, no, just do it yourself. Just do it yourself. Don't give screen time to other people. I was like, oh, okay, I guess. And then, so I put on the costume and the makeup and did it myself and kind of got out of my comfort zone and was on camera. And surprisingly enough, Vishal, like, I don't know, have people talked about Vishal that much in this?
Yeah.
He is a character. But he was the line producer, you know, basically my manager, more or less. But yeah, he was in it too, and he's like, "I'm going to be a puppy." Okay, and so yeah, he's in there like in a full puppy costume and makeup. He's like, "I want professional makeup for this," and so he's like professional puppy makeup, and he's like licking the puppets and stuff, and just jumped with 2 feet into this character.
You're like, Vishal, you're enjoying this too much.
Yeah, he had a great time. Yeah, he loved Disney and stuff like that, and Michael Jackson, and I don't know, loved entertainment. And so
the song that you're talking about, is your voice like pitch shifted up for that?
No, that's my. Oh wait, no, it is. In some parts,
because there's a recording of you online singing a song, and I feel like it might be that one.
That it is.
Like,
it's
okay.
that.
Yeah. I've seen that.
yeah, that was me. But yeah, I made that whole video portion, like soup to nuts, like and the song and everything. So yeah, I guess I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I'm excited to cover that on the podcast, but it'll be a few years, I think, because that's later on. That's down the line on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump in. I just have a few last rapid fire questions for you here. Some of your favorite things. What is your favorite band and or album?
Gets Gilberto. That's my favorite album. It's a bossa nova album. It's a really famous bossa nova album that a lot of people love. You should check it out. It's super chill, and you can kind of listen to it like anytime.
Se você disser que eu desafino amor, saiba que isto em mim provoca imensa dor. Só privilegiados têm ouvido igual ao seu. Eu possuo apenas o que Deus me deu. Se você insiste.
Yeah, it's great. Gets Gilberto and I guess like Loveless by My Bloody Valentine is a close second.
I mean, you're the top 0.1% listener, so
right.
I hope so.
Yeah. And then, let's see, I've been listening to a band called Wednesday a lot recently. They're from Asheville. They're kind of like, almost like country grunge, maybe.
Oh, interesting. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, but more grunge than country for sure. They have like a slide guitar player. Yeah, they're really good. They're touring a lot. They're getting big. So jump on the bandwagon.
Favorite film and or TV show?
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, that's a good one.
Might be my favorite film. That or Fantastic Planet, that animated movie that came out like in the 70s.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, it's great. If you are a fan of animation, you should definitely check it out. It's at the time they made it, the cheapest place to make animation was like Czechoslovakia or some shit.
Oh, okay.
Like somewhere in Europe. The art is like really, really interesting, and it took a lot of work. I don't think they would be able to make it today just because of the level of detail. It's like crosshatch shading and stuff, but for a feature length, but it's really cool and just it really takes you to another place for sure.
Do you have a favorite TV show that you want to shout out?
I like 6 Feet Under a lot. It's very good. I liked Better Things a lot. I thought that was great, especially the first few seasons are really, really good. It has a lot of heart. Oh, specifically the Black Mirror episode San Junipero, I really like.
Do you have a favorite book?
I was an English major, and I read a lot for that, and then I graduated, and then I've read maybe like 4 books since I graduated college, which is kind of terrible.
I mean, you got all of your reading out of the way early. That's why you don't have to read anymore now.
I was just hate reading books after a while, and just like underlying things, and just like take an inventory of literary devices they would use and stuff so I could write a paper. That's like
Right.
why I was reading anything.
Yeah, you're just being forced into it at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like making a list to make like a paper later. And so I kind of like didn't find any joy in reading for a long time. And I guess I still don't. Maybe. but some books I read Perks of a Wallflower, I guess in the last 8 years, and I like that book.
And then last but not least, because you have worked on this show about fast food characters, what is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Chipotle, because
That's a good one.
Yeah, because I'm old and I don't want to eat fried stuff. And
all right, well, thanks, Nick. Is there anything else that maybe you want to like talk about that we didn't touch on?
Oh, you asked me about Judith Dre construction.
Oh, yeah, I did. I forgot to ask you about that. Yeah, do you know anything about who Judith Dre is?
I know exactly who that is. I'm surprised they didn't tell you. I'm sure they know, because it ties in kind of with Gee Whiz. There's all that stuff about standards and practices and how, they were just it was hard to get anything through,
Right.
Well, the legal department is kind of the same a long time ago, and Judith Dre worked in the legal department and shot down so many jokes that she ended up making it in an episode. So they were like, oh yeah, well, like, how about this?
Well, she made it in 2 episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
So like they kind of got their revenge by putting her name in the show.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
Yeah.
For telling Aqua Teen no.
Yeah. That's all it is. She's
Beautiful.
just a lawyer. And yeah, she was a nice person though. I deliver tapes in Judith Dre's office.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, nice. I should get her on the podcast.
Oh yeah, you should. I wonder if she would remember anything. I don't know. It's been a long time. She was one of the few people I saw in the company that wore a suit to work every day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. She was always wearing like an attorney suit.
She took it seriously.
Yeah, no one in our office. Like when we saw someone with a suit coming in Williams Street, like, oh shit, this is not good. Yeah.
So is there anything that you would like to plug or anything? Because as far as I could tell, you're not really online. So I don't know if you have if you want me to direct people to like a Twitter account that I don't know about or an Instagram, or is there just anything that you want to plug?
Yeah, I don't have a public persona or anything. Because I think that's it's a good way to get fired from a giant corporation. I mean, you just say the wrong thing once and it's poof.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I am in a band called Sweet Fiend. I don't know if you want to plug that.
Yes.
I play like guitar.
Okay, I found you. Okay, I'll link that. Yeah, I'll play some of your music in the episode.
Okay.
You're like, no, I'll sue your ass. Don't put that in there. All right, I decided not to include any Sweet Fiend in this episode just because it's not Nick's band. Like, he's just a member of it. So I wasn't sure if the whole band would be okay with that. And I know you're probably thinking, well, you played other music in the episode. Well, yeah, those are professional bands. When you have a smaller band, maybe they don't want their earlier work around forever. So I'm respecting that. But Sweet Fiend are very good. Money Talks, Bullshit Walks. I actually bought their cassette tape over on their Bandcamp. I really dig their sound, so check the link in the description if you would like to check out some Sweet Fiend. If you dug any of the music in this episode, then you will like them. Check them out. Thank you so much, Nick, for sharing so much, being so open and honest throughout the entire conversation. And Nick comes in clutch, telling us finally who Judith Dre is. Of course, you may have heard me asking other people about Judith Dre in interviews here and then speculating about her on the podcast because in 2 episodes in season 2, we see her name in the episodes in both Revenge of the Trees and Kidney Car, and I always wanted to know who it was. Now we have a final concrete answer. I really enjoyed Nick's story, so when I went into interviewing him, I assumed, because of the multiple things he did on Aqua Teen, that he was like, yeah, I'll do the music, I'll do some voice acting. Like he was like offering to do these things, but that was not the case, as we heard. Nick got thrown into these things that he really had no experience with or no interest in some cases, but the job had to get done. Nick was given the job, and as we know, he got them done. So that was a very big surprise to me that his story isn't exactly, how I anticipated it being, how I pictured it being. He wasn't getting into Aqua Teen to be this jack of all trades. He just became one throughout his work on the show. And I think the reason that he thrived there so well is he just seems like a nice guy who's willing to try, and that goes a long way. So another thing Nick touched on here that I appreciated was getting into his low self-esteem, getting into Aqua Teen. Like, he felt unqualified and things like that. And that's definitely something I can relate to before starting this podcast. And it's just like, working on Aqua Teen helped Nick's self-confidence. Doing this podcast has helped me as well, particularly thanks to kind words from you listening, but also from people who worked on the show have said very nice things about the podcast. So I feel like Nick and I kind of have that in common, that, getting into this, it's like, you've heard me on the podcast. I've talked about doing music and art and things like that, but I don't do any of those things professionally, really because of a lack of self-confidence. But doing this podcast, I'm like, hey, maybe I don't suck. Maybe I'm actually okay at this kind of thing. So hope you enjoyed that conversation with Nick. Again, check out his band Sweet Fiend. They are very good. Link in the description. Thank you again, Nick, for coming on the podcast, and thank you for listening. And of course, thank you to those subscribed over at the Patreon. That is patreon.com/dancingisforbidden. The Moonmasters over there pitching in $1, $5, $10 a month, even crazy-ass Nick pitching in $50 a month to keep this podcast going. It really, truly helps. I'm just one person doing this, and you guys make a world of difference. So, of course, got to give some shout outs here. Thank you again to our Highlander.
There can be only one!
Nick, you're a beast. Thank you so much. And thank you to our number one in the Hood G tier patrons, Sean, Ian, Captain Buford, Robinson, Jason, and Carl. You guys can look at my boobies during our interview any day of the week. I'll see you next week for more Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Take it easy. Keep it cool. Bye-bye.
Dancing is forbidden. Dancing is forbidden.
Oh, here we go. That's a bad habit I got from being in that office. Like, my first year there, I guess maybe the first couple of weeks, I was sharing an office with Andy Merrill, and he burped all the time. And I thought he was so cool. I was like, oh my God, it's Brack. It's Andy Merrill.
Yeah.
The legend. Yeah. And he burps all the time. I'm going to burp all the time. And so
I gotta be like Andy.
I know. And so I got in this bad habit of just walking down the hall, just ripping them. And, and yeah, I think it messed me up. I don't know.
It changed the chemical balance of your brain to just be like, yep, just gotta be like Andy.
Yeah. And I tried to rein it in, 10 years into this job. I'm like, oh, this is just disgusting. I just got this really terrible habit from thinking Andy is cool. But no, I can't. I think I messed up my gastrointestinal shit.
Oh no.
God, that was a weird aside.
Well, I appreciate it.
What were we talking about?
Just why it is that you thrived so much in that work environment. I guess it's because you like burping so much.
It was the burping.
They're like, let's promote them. Shit.
The burping is my edge. Everyone else can't even compete.